Here for the Mendocino Local Agency Formation Commission of April 2nd. Call order, please.
Commissioner Orr.
Here.
Testing, can you hear me? Nope, you cannot hear me. Commissioner Orr.
Here.
It is. Commissioner Orth.
Here.
Hi. Tony's
Here. I'm deja vu.
Thank you for your patience. Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner McCowan.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner Doble.
Present.
Commissioner Rosenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Ignacio.
Here.
And Commissioner Ward.
Here, thank you. Public expression. Is there any persons in the audience that like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? Come on up, please. State your name. I already introduced yourself to me, but again, for the record.
Good morning.
Good
So
morning.
I'm Bob Kiefer. Is this on? Okay. Morning, Carrie. So I have, under the request of Dan Hamburg, I signed up to volunteer for the Hopland Cemetery District and part of CALAFCO. So this is a whole learning process for me. So this is the first meeting that I've attended, and I've just kind of turned in all my paperwork and just kind of getting up to speed. So I don't know why I'm doing this, but here I am. So that's who I am. I'm a longtime resident of Hopland. My father was on the cemetery board for, God, I don't know, decades. And looking over the agenda that was sent out, I can see, as most county things happen, there's way too much month left at the end of the money. I mean, I'm looking at the budget, and it seems like minuscule amounts going to like fire districts and cemetery districts. So I know that's a challenge. Anyway, so good morning, and
Well,
thank you.
You will be talking a lot today about fire departments, and Hopland is in the
Okay.
SOI today, so
Okay.
hopefully you'll learn a little bit about the fire department.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to consent calendar. Any questions on the consent calendar? I don't have any. It looked good again.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve with a second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Doble.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner McCowan.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Orth.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes, I keep digging, but I just can't find anything wrong with the financials. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 5, public hearing items. 5A, public hearing for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2018-19. I assume our proof of publication has been put in the papers, so I'll leave it to you, Uma.
Thank you. The proof of notification is included on pages 19 and 20 of your agenda packet. This is the only changes from the preliminary budget from the workshop last month was the increase in operating expenses of the $1,500 to review and prepare for the one-time funding that may be coming down from the state. So the budget would be the operating budget would be $150,270. The tables on pages 13 and 14 and 15 of the staff report have been updated to reflect those changes. We did receive one comment from the Mendocino County RCD, mostly asking about the process. No other comments were received. And I don't have any other anything else to present. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. There is a draft resolution and the attachments in your agenda packet.
Okay, very good. Is there any questions on the budget? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I so move the staff's recommendation and for resolution 17-18-06.
Second.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds.
Commissioner Brown is the.
You beat me. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Orth,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner McCowan,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Doble,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 5B, public hearing to consider adoption of resolutions approving the multi-district fire protection services sphere of influence. There are 13 fire districts. I won't name them all, but we have had workshops on those. And Numa, you can give us the rest of it. Again, is there a proof of publication?
There is included in the packet. Okay, so this document is the consolidated document of the 13 fire districts. We did include an introduction, which is in the introduction we included section 1.5, which was meant to streamline the discussion on the Mendocino CALAFCO policies discussion, so that's included there. In section 1.6, we added a discussion on fire and emergency medical services. We also included a discussion or a listing of the common concerns that were identified by the fire chiefs in response to a 2015 questionnaire from the Mendocino County Fire Safe Council. That's on page 1.8. We've also included the overview map of all of the fire agencies, and that's on page 111 of the document. Staff has worked to revise the workshop drafts for each of the fire agencies and included the commissioner's comments. We've also, we have two, let's see. We did receive notification from the Redwood Valley Calpella Fire District that we had the name slightly wrong. The protection is not in there, so we will remove that for the final draft. After the release of the draft document, we did receive financial documents from the Covelo Fire Protection District, Long Valley, and Leggett Valley Fire Protection Districts. For Covelo, we received a balance sheet and profit and loss sheet, but no audit. For Leggett Valley, we received the audits for fiscal years 2013-14 and 14-15. And for Long Valley, we received the audits for 13-14, 14-15, and 15-16. We still have not received any financials from CompChi, CSD, Mendocino Fire Protection District. It will be sending their 15-16 audit once it's completed. And the one other outstanding one was Potter Valley CSD. I'm happy to answer questions about the document, and we do have a few districts here today.
Okay. Before we get to the districts, is there any questions on that, John?
Excuse me, I was not listening.
Oh, okay, sorry. Do you have any questions with regard to the SOI for the 13 districts?
Yes, I did have a few, and primarily I've distributed and given to the clerk and executive director some suggested edits to section 1.6.2.1 relating to the EMS system. And the second paragraph kind of mushes together the issue of EMS and EOA. And so I'm attempting to separate that. So how I've done that is suggesting adding a new last sentence to the first paragraph of that section. And I've, of course, abbreviated Mendocino County and LEMFSA and Coastal Valleys, but the edit would be to spell those out and parenthesize the alphabet. And then in place of the current second paragraph, I'm suggesting a new second paragraph that replaces most of it with the first sentence you see here, and then and second sentence, and then it keeps the last sentence of that section. So, you know, again, the main purpose of this is to separate out the issues of who the LEMPS is going to be versus whether the county adopts an exclusive operating area.
Okay, any questions on that comment from John?
I'd just like to say thank you.
Okay, Tony?
Just a general comment about those early sections. I just want to thank staff for very well-written opening sections. I'm glad to see John was able to refine, because that's a moving target, so having it right for now is good. But excellent, thank you so much. I just see so much resonate from our earlier discussions within this, so excellent job.
Carol?
I just wonder about the fact of the size of the document, that that if we could possibly find a way to make sure that it could be downloaded chapter by chapter. Because if it's a large document to work with, and if you're not finding things in it, might be a bit awkward for people who may not have been as involved as we are. So if we want to make this a really useful document to the larger community, I think it needs to be something that could be either broken apart or you can find bits and pieces in it.
So you're talking about the chapters for each fire district then be separate on our website?
Perhaps, yes.
What do you think, staff?
That's fairly easy to do. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Any other comments, Jerry?
And I brought it, I apologize, Uma, I was reviewing this again last night and caught that in section 1.6.2.3 dispatch. I'm just aware because of my previous position that the City of Willits also dispatches fire additionally to Howard Forest in the Willits area. So I think another line at the end of the first line there that would say, in addition, the Little Lake Fire District is, or the City of Willits provides dispatch services for the Little Lake Fire District, something to that effect, right after that line.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Kevin.
Just to tag on to Carol's comment, and for information, the document is searchable. It's a searchable PDF, so you can type in, comp sheet, and you'll basically get all of those headings that will come up. So in the meantime, I think in addition to breaking it out when you're reviewing a document this large, it's helpful to know that you can search those features.
And I just wanted to clarify that both Howard Forest and the City of Willits are capable of dispatching Little Lake Fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I had a couple. On page 2-21 regarding Covolo's MSR determinations, you talk about their medium income being $28,114, but at the back of the document you talk about ducks again, and it's listed at $24,750. Just a little difference in the medium income from the state. Also, on that MSR, 3 areas that I reviewed, because it is a large document. I looked at the disadvantaged unincorporated areas, and the consistency is not really there for all 13 districts. For instance, in Covolo, you talk about the medium income and why they are a disadvantaged unincorporated area. But then other ones you just talk about that they're just a disadvantaged one, and then you talk about it in the back. So I just figured that'd be one consistency. I'm not asking to change it, but in the future I'd like to have that consistent. And then the mapping. The mapping was nice, and you talk about areas that the fire districts will maybe talk about the next SOI, taking on some additional areas that maybe they can take care of. In one of the maps you had the area sort of shaded, showing where the future might be that we want to ask them to take on. But then there's some other ones you didn't really shade. So, for instance, between Piercy and Leggett, there's that section of 101. That'd be nice if that was shaded too, but I just don't want to lose that for the next go-around, so that we can have those discussions early on with the fire departments to say, this is, we'd like to expand your SOI, severe of influence, to these particular areas. So that was, because there's about 3 or 4 of them in here that you suggest more areas be taken on.
Okay.
And the third thing is, and I guess this has been my bailiwick for the last several years, is consistency in the financial statements. Some of them are net income financial statements. Others are, I still think they're capital budgets. There really isn't, it says net income, but when you spend $20,000, $30,000 on capital expenses, that's really not an expense. That's more of a depreciation type thing. So some of them had balance sheets, some didn't. I'd like to see if we can really push that in the future and get consistency in financial information, because I'm really concerned about some of them. Hopland, for instance, is really on a shoestring right now from what I see, and we'd like to see these fire districts stay in business, and if they're not, if you continue to lose money and your reserve accounts aren't there, it's really difficult to make decisions up here if we know you're not going to be still in business. So, and I know you guys do a great job, Hopland, on taking care of the services, but we're real concerned about that. But we need accurate financial information. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to address us on the severe influence for any of the 13 districts? Nope. All right, any more comments?
Well, just, actually, the financial will be, the MSRs.
Yeah, and so I'm just bringing it up. Since we're in here, I just thought it'd be consistency is what I'm looking for. And they're all up through 16, so, here it is 18, we haven't seen 17 yet. Okay.
And can
John.
I ask one?
Oh,
Go ahead,
please,
Gary.
go ahead.
Are we informing the districts when we work with them and talk with them about certain state code where they can change from annual audits to every 2 years or every 5 years? About that state code, are we, as long as they take action and then an action comes before the Board of Supervisors as well as the auditor?
We have been, I don't know if we've mentioned that to everyone. Similar to the cemetery district's MSR, we can send out a sheet when this document is adopted. We can send out an informational document, and along with the notification that the SOI has been adopted.
Right, because I think it's very critical for the cemetery districts. And probably some of these other smaller districts could be very critical for them too. So.
Okay.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have a couple of other changes on section 1.6.2.6, which begins on page 12, and then that section continues on to page 13. In the second paragraph, the fourth line, it says, and this is regards to Prop 172 funds, it says the formula for funding allocation was developed by the Mendocino County Association of Fire Districts, etc. Future disbursements are unknown at this time. That's no longer true, so I would suggest striking the sentence that says future disbursements are unknown at this time, and one alternative would be to adopt a sentence that says, in 2018, an alternate funding formula was adopted that includes the population of the incorporated cities.
Is that it?
Yeah, and that creates a bit of a disconnect because the first reference to the formula doesn't say that the population of the cities was excluded, but it in effect was. But this is a simple fix that maybe gives people enough information to understand what's going on.
Okay, good.
Although in each of the 13, it does restate that it's unknown whether it's going to continue. So if we correct there, we'll be correcting in all 13 sections.
Well, and the correction might be that this is something to the effect that these allocations are determined annually
Ongoing
through the
annually.
budget process, but are not mandated.
Are discretionary.
Yeah.
Discretionary, let's see, annually reviewed for discretionary approvals. Approval. Something like that.
Or reviewed are discretionary and are reviewed annually based on availability of funding.
That works.
That's excellent.
That's still pretty unknown.
Will at least be reviewed annually.
Yeah, that's
Could be zero every year.
the master of the concise edit are reviewed annually.
Carrie?
And I just have one more comment to your statement about the financials. Maybe, I was just thinking, when we do the training, it might be nice to have some section on that for all the special districts that attend.
I was thinking of that too, because that's something that you get new board members in. And
Just show a
stuff.
template and, yeah.
Yeah, a template would be real nice. To show what we're looking for. Uma?
Our clerk did remind me that we had also sent out that informational page that we put together on that issue when we to all of the special districts after the cemetery district was adopted.
Okay.
Oh, okay, about the audits.
Yes, about the
Okay,
opportunity
state
to
code.
extend that.
All right.
I don't know how many of the 13 actually perform audits. It states underneath the financial statements, but I know 4 or 5 of them have. I know Celentano did one, Paling did some, what was the other guy's name from Ukiah? But they have to provide them with a balance sheet and income statement anyway. I don't know why we can't get a copy of it. Then we can incorporate it into our own documents. Because it is a public record, I presume, too, so. Tony?
Just so everyone's aware, there is legislation moving through to require websites by all special districts by the Little Hoover Commission, which wanted to do away with special districts. But instead of doing away with all special districts, they've decided every special district should have a web page. There is legislation by McGuire that would allow each district that is encumbered by financial reasons and staffing reasons to opt out of that. And so there is a fix in process.
Because, may I comment?
Go ahead.
Because, and the reason I say, oh, good, because some of them are so small.
Yeah.
And to have to keep up a website with minutes, agenda, I mean, it's constant. And the cost to them would be enormous.
About
So I'm
$1,200.
glad Senator McGuire is doing the other. And I do think it's important if you're a big district. And I think it's important what LAFCO is doing, because for those that don't have websites, you know, it is an area with oversight. So,
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have just one more item on section 1.6.3, common concerns, and that begins on page 13, continues on to page 14. And the first bullet on page 14 is not accurate. No special district is required to complete an MSR. That's a LAFCO responsibility. We don't require the districts to pay fees. For that process, they pay fees as part of the overall LAFCO assessment. And yet, you know, it does provide an administrative burden to respond to the requests for information, but I think we could, I don't think that is the biggest challenge by far facing these districts, and I have a suggestion for rewriting this, but I think we could also delete it with no real loss to the document. So I would make that suggestion.
This is 1.6.3.
1.6.3.
Which bullet point?
The next to the last bullet point.
Oh, next to the last, okay, yes.
Any comment, Kevin, on that? Want to strike it?
Okay, wait a minute, I didn't I wasn't on the right one.
I just want to note that this was taken verbatim from that list of comments or issues identified by the fire chiefs, which is why that language is there.
Well, it does show a misunderstanding of the process at a minimum, but
Yes.
I mean, if you want to rewrite it, we could simply say the requirement.
To participate, I think.
No, the requirement to complete MSRs, and just take out that it's,
You don't think just adding LAFCO, saying that the requirement for all special districts to complete municipal service reviews per LAFCO?
well, it isn't the requirement of LAFCO, it's the requirement of state law.
That's true.
I'll let you guys figure it out.
Yeah, it's.
Well, if you know, if the districts are citing it as a concern, even though the way the fire council has stated it is incorrect, I mean, maybe it's worth keeping it in, but it would need to be reworded, in my opinion. We shouldn't state something that's obviously factually incorrect.
You have any suggestions, Uma?
You know, I wanted to ask, we have a fire chief here, maybe he could give us his opinion.
And one more thing, I question this last sentence.
I'm questioning the last sentence too. I think the last sentence is clearly unnecessary and not accurate. And MSRs have been completed for all the fire districts, so it's not like they're going to be impacted by not being allowed to develop. How does a fire district, you mean extend its territory? Is that what is developed in this?
You have to look to
Not
the
doing that.
glossary of definitions.
It's a little confusing as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I think that we can either remove it or we can add clarifying language below that in italics that say that this, indicate this was taken from that list that was developed, list of issues, but that LAFCO is providing the clarifying language.
You can make it a quote.
Well, it seems like all the special districts somewhat complain about the fact that we all pay fees into LAFCO and the MSRs are required, and it seems to be just the same complaint that we hear from all districts in common. I don't think it's anything different than what the water and sewer districts would say. You know, why are we paying fees and why are we forced to do this? But is it really important to say that in the document itself?
I'm sort of leaning to take it out.
That would be the simplest, but
Of course,
Carol.
I think you need to respect the fact that what we are required to do, it takes a great deal of burden on the folks that we're doing it for.
Yep.
And I think we also have to make sure that we do the training and how to do it as easily as possible. So it's one thing to want certain kinds of financial information, but we need to make sure that we do a training to all these folks to teach them how we want it to be. And I think we need to respect the fact that we want things to look tidy for us, but we need to respect the fact that they have complaints. And I think we need to make sure that whatever language, it recognizes their feeling of burden.
Gary?
Well, using us. I think it's what we're trying to do is fulfill what the state tells us we have to do.
Oh, I understand that.
And so it's because they want oversight of all these agencies by LAFCO. And through that state mandate, it's just not us. It's helping them so that when the state comes and looks, if they do, and we all know that the state will do an audit sometime. We've read that over and over for quite a few years now to make sure that LAFCOs are doing the right job of the state mandate and that the districts are following through. So I think that's an easier way to explain to districts why, instead of just thinking it's this LAFCO. So that's.
But I think that comes in training. That comes in explaining to them that what our responsibility is and why we have to ask what we do, and then it's a state mandate. So I think we have to say something perhaps that that this is because of the state mandate, this is a burden to the special districts. Obviously, we know about the lack of staffing and the lack of ability to sometimes do these things. So I think the fact that we need to make sure that they are able to do what we ask of them is part of what they're paying for.
Two comments. One, this is the first go-around, so it is difficult for their staffs, but the second go-around is going to be much easier because we've already developed the severe of influence, we've already developed the MSRs, so it's just an update. So it's going to be easier in the future. Second of all, I've heard from some of the districts and cities that the MSR is a very good package for them to understand exactly what they do. We've heard that time and time again. I think Fort Bragg, City of Fort Bragg was in here and was commenting about how well the MSR was for their staff. So, and on top of that, we have so many new board members that come in to take over these special districts. They need to know what their district actually does, as well as the financial condition of that district. So it may be difficult for them in the beginning, but I think in the long run, it's better for them to understand what, not only what LAFCO does, but what they do as a district.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm saying that it behooves us to make sure that we give them what kind of support and training they need.
And we will.
In order to
We
meet
hope
our
to.
mandates.
I think UMA's been doing a very good job on providing that information to them, and we've come up with some more ideas today with Carrie coming up with the idea through the training what we're looking for in financial information. There are audits there. All we're trying to do is just pull that information from the audits that they receive. So anyway, I think we do we want to have a vote on taking that away, or did you rewrite it for us?
Well, I rewrote maybe half of it. I mean, I haven't captured the financial impact of the LAFCO fees, but in terms of the MSRs, we could say the state mandated requirement to complete MSRs has imposed an administrative burden on rural fire districts.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
You have that change, Uma?
And do away with the last sentence?
Definitely do away with the last sentence.
Can you
Any
repeat
comments
that?
from the audience, public?
Uma wants to.
Uma?
Wait, have you opened the public hearing portion?
No, I have not.
Public comment period? Thank you.
That's a very good idea. We forgot that too.
Come to think of it.
I think we've now massaged this pretty well.
I thought he had.
No, I didn't. Before we open it up, do we have to make a comment or determination on CEQA?
That is included in the recommended actions, and we are recommending we have a draft CEQA exemption in the packet.
Well, I was indirectly asking for public comment, but I will actually open up the public hearing at 9:37. Is there anybody from the public would like to comment on the severe influences for the 13 fire districts? Seeing none, we'll close the public. Oh, sorry, come on up. Oh, we're not gonna close it today, huh?
Not until you just close the public comment, and then it's back to
Okay.
LAFCO.
Open a public hearing, then public comment, close the public comment.
So I finally got you to come up. Thank you.
Just hanging in there listening. I'm Don Dale, Red Valley Cal Fire Chief. Glad to be here this morning, I think. Interesting on your conversations. The MSRs, they do have a lot of knowledge. I think what you're going to find out is people really don't know what LAFCO's job is. I'm serious. I've been a chief for over 3 years, and I'm still trying to figure out the MSR. There's no classes. I haven't found anything. But, you know, it is what it is. So as far as sphere of influence goes, I'm just here to answer questions about my district. So I can't talk for somebody else. I can just tell you about what I know. Okay, so I'm open to any questions you may have.
Have you read the severe influence for River
Yeah,
Valley?
yeah, and there's, I've talked 2 years ago when we first started, or actually 3 years ago when we started this project, looking into the sphere of influence, the MSR, because I had no idea what you were talking about. And I dug into my good friend, Delbert Phelps was no longer alive, his notes of 50 some odd years that he saved. And there's a lot of work that he put in. And I'm realizing, okay, now what do I do? So I bit the hook and sold it, everything. When you started talking 3 years ago about the SOI, sphere of influence, and I spent 3 months working on the Highway 20 corridor that Potter Valley and I share. 3 years ago, the people on the south side of Highway 20 thought they were in our fire district.
Right.
They're not. They're in Potter Valley's fire district. And so they were like, well, how come? You can get it quicker. I agree. We can, but that is Potter Valley's district. They don't, that's a long drive for them. So we were talking about bringing it up sometime and trying to come up with some kind of a remedy for the problem. Years ago, when I first came into the department with Delbert, I ran with him all the way to County Line Highway 20. So when I found out we don't go out there anymore, I was like, what's going on? So there's a lot of questions out there. So, it's not going to be an easy job. We're talking close to 350 parcels. Might even be more. I only went so far in and out the corridor. So I know the limit out there is the Postal Service. The south side is Ukiah address. North side, left-hand side is Potter Valley address. Figure that one out.
Yeah.
Now, you talk about confusing, and they say River Valley. I say, I don't have anything to do with you guys. They've got 3 different phone numbers. The 485 numbers are out there, Potter Valley's phone numbers out there, and also the city Ukiah numbers are out there. So that's what I know about that
462-743
Yeah.
485.
Yeah.
So the sphere of influence that we have for the map, is that satisfactory to your?
For us right now, yeah, there's some areas that we covered that you had some questions before a couple of years ago when we were here, especially Tom Kai. That is actually Little Lakes up there, but it doesn't show Little Lakes. It's their fire district, even when we bump up to it. I just found the access road and got the combinations so we can actually make it over to Pine Mountain now.
Whoa.
Didn't even know we even could do that.
Wow.
Until the last fire we had. And I went and talked to some of the landowners, and they said, oh yeah, here's a combination, So we got that. But there's a lot more there in Tom County than what you think as far as population-wise. It goes way up there. You got Dapalos way up there. You've got Sitting Drive. And there's another 300, 400 homes up there.
So you willing to take it on?
We already do.
Okay.
That is our district.
Okay.
So, we don't have any problem where we're going right now. We just let you know down the road. I can't see taking something on if I'm not going to be able to get my tax that we charge. We do have a fire tax. The only thing about doing the sphere of influence, when Delbert did it, they originally expanded us out to where we're at now. The county won't give us the tax money we have coming in our regular. The 0.0020357 cents on the dollar. They don't want to give up. So, and it's not much, but it's enough to pay the light bill. So.
Well, that's another board you need to talk to.
Yeah, well, I figured if I talk to you guys, say, hey.
Well, we got 2 board members here.
So I don't know where you want to go at with this. I can tell you that our call volumes are way up. We had 637 calls last year. Out of that, 400 plus were all medical aids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody's up, so.
Yeah, we're just here to make sure that the county's covered with, through these SOIs.
Yeah, we got a good working relationship with all the fire departments. Yeah. We're really good. This fire we had out there lets you know that every single department in the county came to our fire. So we're well protected, so.
Well, anyway, hopefully it's not too burdensome on you
Okay,
to.
but I could use some help as far as training on what you would like to. I know that with our finances, you should have no problem. You go to the county and they should give it to you.
Yeah.
So.
And UMA's been very good about, our executive officer, about coming out to the districts too. So if you have any questions, you can contact either her or Beth. And But we are hoping having some training, but our training's been more or less around the other requirements like the Brown Act and sexual harassment, those kinds of things.
Oh yeah, I'm working on that too. I'm trying to find classes for my board members, send them. So there is one thing you're going to find out, that paid fire departments, volunteer fire departments, I've got different rules from what the state mandates they do. If we have a paid chief, I will do this. If you're not a paid chief or volunteer, you don't have to do this. So just to give you a heads up, there are two sides of the road for a chief. So, and by the way, I don't know who did this. I want to thank you. It's very well done. Very easy to follow. So, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you, Chief Dell. And keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
One quick question.
Yeah, Tony.
In the Brick Trails Little Lake area this year, we've already had 16 structure fires, so we're now 50-50 between medical and structure, which is a new trend. We haven't seen that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So very high number of structure fires.
Yeah, and watch out, and you need to find out. Well, you got Daryl up there. He'll tell you like exactly what's going on up there.
Yeah, the labs and such.
The labs are outrageous. Don't send any of your firemen in.
Yeah, right. Stand and listen to the explosions.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks for coming. Anybody else would like to make comments? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Thank you. At 9:45. Bring it back to the commission. Any more comments? Want to move this on? You have a comment. I can see you got that page.
No,
turned over.
I just have the resolution.
Okay.
And I know you're looking for a motion, and I was waiting to see if Supervisor McCowan was through writing.
I have no further suggested edits. Okay. And I do truly compliment staff for an excellent job in preparing the document.
Ditto.
I can make a motion.
Go ahead.
If you'd like. I'd like to move Resolution 2017-18-07 for approving adoption of the multi-district fire protection services sphere of influence, along with all the noted corrections that have been mentioned during the process.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further comments? We'll do a roll call, please.
Can we have just a moment?
Yes.
Do you have one suggestion is that we make the corrections to the document and bring it back for ratification or put it on the consent agenda for next time to make sure we've accurately captured everything?
Carrie?
So you're talking about continuing our public hearing, and we can do that to the May meeting. That's how you would continue the public hearing? So that would have to be part of the motion then.
Is it possible?
Or we could have but it's approving it with corrections.
It's probably easier to keep the public
Is it possible
open.
to approve it with the corrections and then to bring the document back for and put it on the consent agenda?
No, we could do that too.
I don't think you can do that because of the public notice. I mean, if the changes that we've talked about and then they're incorrect, I think you have to reissue, the notification.
John?
Well, I think you can just continue the public hearing.
Yeah, I think it'd be the easiest way.
Because it's been noticed, anyone who's interested has the ability to show up here.
Right.
So,
And you don't have to redo proof of publication.
correct,
And
if we
And
just,
the
go
motion-
through that cost.
The motion can be left on the floor?
No, it needs to be withdrawn.
Okay.
And
Well, that word,
the
yeah.
motion needs to be that, I don't think we have to take any motion. We'll just continue the public hearing.
that can be the
Must be a
direction.
direction of staff.
That'd be the direction, yes.
My concern is just to have a clean administrative record.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my second.
I
when you-
already withdrew my first.
They should have told you before you had to give your motion. Okay. We'll continue that for May 7th. We'll move on to workshop items. There are none to report. 7, matters for discussion and possible action. CALAFCO calls for legislative action. So, Uma, can you go over the CALAFCO action items here?
Sure. Last week, we received four calls for action from the CALAFCO staff. I will state that the recommendation on page 27 of your packet should include 2 additional legislative bills on the top, which should include AB 2258 and AB 3254. AB 2600 is a bill that adds the option for local governments to adopt a resolution of application in lieu of the 5,000 signature petition to initiate the formation of a regional park and open space district. This is being supported by CALAFCO, and it's intended to streamline a very costly process for the initiation of regional park and open space districts. AB 2491 is a bill that seeks to reinstate the vehicle license fee funding, which would be backfilled by the general fund for future city annexations, and this is to level the playing field for past incorporations to now. There have been no incorporations in the last 7 years since the vehicle license fee was taken away from that process. On AB 2258 is the bill that is pursuing the one-time funding as a in response to the recommendation of the Little Hoover Commission report. Through this bill, it would also provide for reimbursement for the mandatory dissolution of inactive districts that is also that has been approved, and that would be SB 448. And AB 3254 is the annual omnibus bill. It has minor technical corrections to the language in the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act. Draft letters are included in the packet starting on page 29. And staff is looking for approval of the letters and direction to send them out.
Okay, I have a question on AB 2491 on the vehicle license fee. Is that a new tax or is that just a redistribution of the tax?
It is, the money will come out of the general fund. I don't know too much about it. It used to be that a portion of the vehicle license fee would go to incorporations, and that was taken away by SB 89 that was about 7 or 8 years ago. So this is to reinstate that process.
So it's not raising the vehicle license fee, it's just pulling the money out of the general fund to bring it back to the cities?
That's my understanding, yes.
John, do you have a comment?
Well, it's just that these changes did create a financial disincentive for incorporation of a city where it would otherwise make sense. So it created a lot of difficulties for cities that were in the process at the time.
Yeah.
And I think,
Several in San Bernardino,
yeah, and I think they did a
Riverside.
corrective action. It took a few years, but I think it's an appropriate change, because if it makes sense for a city to incorporate, it shouldn't be stopped because they're denied a funding source available to all other cities.
Yeah. My only concern was seeing an increase in taxes. I didn't want to see an increase in tax. If they want to pull it somewhere else to bring it back to the cities, fine.
I'll move that we support the support letters and send them out by staff.
Or a second?
Second.
Okay, I think this doesn't require a roll call. Is there, all in favor say aye?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll go on to item number 8A, work plan, current and future proposals.
We have nothing new on active pre-applications or future projects. The MSR and SOI updates are on page 34 of your packet. We are close to having an administrative draft on the Redwood Coast Fire Protection District, and we hope to get that out to that district for review at the end of this week. The City of Willits, I met with the new city manager last week and discussed the SOI update, and we are moving forward on that one. We hope to have a draft report for the mutual water companies to the commission next month. And I think that's all I have for updates on the MS work plan.
With regard to the consolidation of the 5 water districts in the Ukiah Valley, wasn't one of those districts pulled out?
Yes, and that was going to be my comment.
Okay. Do you have any further information on
Not to talk about.
it? Okay. All right.
Because it's some hearsay, but very definitely Willow Water District gave notification that they are pulling out of the JPA.
Okay.
What a surprise. The district most noted for a generation of rowing its own boat. I probably didn't make that comment.
You didn't make it. So my concern is that is the proposal still going to go forward with 4 districts rather than 5?
I do have a meeting with Tamara Alanez to get an update on that process. I have not heard yet.
Okay. And did you make any headway on your boulevard?
Yes, we've had a big meeting of all the players on the Sherwood corridor. That's all the road associations. The tribe is going to be participating, but they weren't able to send a rep for that meeting. We're having another meeting on April 28th, a larger community meeting. And our 3rd District Supervisor has been working with legal staff to look at boulevard districts and whether it's the best way to go or if there are other options.
Where's that meeting going to be at?
Where's the meeting?
We've been meeting at the Brook Trails Community Center. And I think it's probably a 6 o'clock meeting. I think that's a Saturday, but I'm not sure. I'll make sure to get you details to the city manager.
Carrie?
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is information and doing all the legal research and your proposal. I read it because you gave us all a copy.
Yes.
Found it very interesting, but all of us should attend that meeting because it may be an example
Yes.
for across the county. And you're going to be the ones that are on ground zero to, decide and move forward. So I look with a lot of interest in what you're doing.
We do feel it could be an example, and thereby we would work with state legislators should there need to be an update to the Boulevard District to accommodate these kind of processes where a community interest within a road structure can do something to generate local funding, to generate matches that attract more dollars. So it's basically the process.
Okay, good. Yes, Umar.
Commissioner Orth, if you could send that information to me, then I can share it with the commissioners.
On the meeting on
For
the
the
20th?
meeting?
Sure.
Thank you.
So are we still on schedule for Redwood Coast Fire Department next month and Brook Trails in June?
Well, as I mentioned, we'll have the admin draft to the district by the end of this week, so it depends on if they're able to get their comments back to us within the next 2 weeks. If that's the case, we'll be able to hold the workshop in May. And I believe we're on track for the Brook Trails to be in June.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to item 8B, correspondence. Did you receive any?
Don't believe we have, no.
Okay, 8C, executive officers report.
We had a few things. We've been responding to public records requests, and we've done I've worked on the website updates, trying to streamline it and meet the transparency requirements, or recommendations, I should say. We have 700 forms are due. If you haven't provided those yet, please do so. The special district alternate seat election is in process. It was extended because we received no nominations. Nominations are due by the end of April, I believe. I can get that date to you, but we still have not received any nominations, so if you know of anybody. And then Larkin and I will be attending the...
I'm sorry, may I ask?
Go ahead.
So for the upcoming election, or the solicitation you're doing, we have Mr. Kiefer here. Best way to learn is to get yourself ready for CALAFCO.
I was going to suggest that, too. You might as well take them all on.
Yeah. And for others, if you have board members that might be interested, this is a time that they could possibly submit nomination and learn more about LAFCO and help us with the process.
Thank you for that pitch. Anything else, Emma?
Just wanted to note that Larkin, our analyst, and I will be attending the CALAFCO staff workshop in San Rafael next week, so we will be down there Tuesday to Friday.
Good. Okay, well...
I just have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is, and for transparency reasons, you said PRA requests, that you've been working on those. Can you give us a summary of who submitted those, what entities, and on what?
It was in regards to the City of Ukiah and Ukiah Valley Sand District MSRs.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8D, committee reports. I believe the executive committee hasn't met. Did the policy and procedure?
We have a policies and procedures meeting scheduled for next Monday.
Next Monday, okay. Move on to 8E, commission reports. Anything for the good of the commission?
I guess I just say that on any of these legislative matters, I find myself at least once a month having to be in Sacramento. So and then I sit representing the Board of Supervisors on 2 state organizations on their board of directors. So if there's information that I can take, one is the Rural Counties Association. They're very active, and most rural counties' Board of Supervisors have to be very active because they don't have staff. Right. To assist in a lot of areas. CSAC, California State Association of Counties, are all the counties, so urban, suburban, and rural. But that's also another platform that we could have if we want to weigh in on legislation or any other proposed legislation, any other matters. So I just want to make that available to staff, that I'm here to serve, and whatever I can do, let me know.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, we'll move on to item 8F, CALAFCO business and legislative report.
Nothing new to report.
Nothing new. Okay, we will adjourn.
Oh my.
Next meeting is Monday, May 7th.